Hey guys, and welcome back to David Walliams' Codename Bananas, Chapter 40, Stunned Nuns. Now remember, your job is to listen to the story, because at the end you have some questions to answer that you need to answer correctly. I can know if you've been making up a random answer, but you most importantly need to answer with complete sentences. Now we've talked about restating the question, and I showed you the easiest way to do that by copying the question, like copy, hold down on your iPad, copy, paste it into your answer, and then change it to the answer. That's all you have to do. All right, let's get started with Chapter 40, Stunned Nuns. Sid yanked Eric's ankle to topple him over. The boy landed on top of the train with a thud. Eric shut his eyes tight as he felt the arch of the tunnel skim over his head. Whoosh! The boy was lucky to be alive, and he knew it. In moments, the dark tunnel turned to light as the train galloped out of the tunnel. It was now trundling along a railway bridge over the River Thames, heading south. The three had to find the third-class carriage, so, taking a windswept Gertrude in their hands, her wedding dress blowing wildly, they tiptoed across the roof to the front of the train. Between each carriage was a wide gap to leap over. Not so difficult for an ape or a small, sprightly boy. However, this was a huge challenge for an old man with 10 legs. "I'm not sure about this," spluttered Sid. "You can do it," assured Eric. "Just take a running jump." The old man shook his head and took a few steps back before doing his best to leap from one carriage to another. "Arrgh!" cried Sid as he lost his footing and fell down within the gap. Clink! Eric had managed to grab the old man's hand to stop him from falling onto the tracks. "I've got you," said the boy. But the old man's hand was slipping out of Eric's. "Yes, but for how long?" To make matters worse, it was hard to see a thing. The thick plumes of smoke were chugging from the engine at the front, and the train began to reach its top speed. Chug, chug, chug. Spotting her friends were in trouble, Gertrude leaned down from the top of the train and reached out a helping hand. The gorilla was a good deal stronger than Eric, or indeed anyone. Grabbing Sid's other hand, she yanked him back to the top of the carriage. He landed with a thump. "Are you all right?" asked Eric. "Just a bit winded," replied Sid. "Gertrude, let's grab a hand each," said the boy, miming. The gorilla nodded. She was a clever girl. Now, with Sid in the middle, and the three leaped over the wide gaps between the train carriages together. "Whee!" exclaimed the old man, feeling like a child again for the first time in half a century. It was as if he were a toddler being swung by his parents. Soon the three had reached the front of the train. "Now we need to find an empty compartment," said Sid. "Lower me down the side and I can look through the windows," replied the boy. Gertrude and Sid held on to Eric's ankles as he was lowered down to look through the first compartment window. A group of stunned nuns looked up from their Bible reading. The boy smiled at them and gestured to be pulled up. The next compartment was full of children. They all had name tags around their necks, no doubt being evacuated to the countryside. The children smiled and waved and looked super excited to see the upside-down boy outside the window. Eric waved before gesturing to be pulled back up. "Third time lucky," he said as Sid and Gertrude lowered him to look through the window of the next compartment. "Yes!" exclaimed the boy. "This one is empty." Still upside down, Eric slid the window open and swung through it. He landed in a crumpled heap on the floor of the compartment. Thunk! Next, he leaned out of the window to help first Gertrude and then Sid inside. The old man caught his trousers on the door handle, and they whipped down. "Whip! Not again!" he exclaimed as his winkly bottom stuck out of the window. Eric called him inside, and Sid hastily yanked up his trousers. Breathless, windswept, and covered in soot from the smoke, the three were at last slumped on seats. Eric closed the window. Shunt! And they all let out a giant sigh of relief. The wind had blustered Gertrude's wedding dress all over the place. She looked as if she'd been dragged through the hedge backwards. Her furry face, arms, and legs were now clearly displayed. "Oops," remarked the boy. "Oops, indeed," echoed Sid. Eric looked out of the door on the other side of the compartment that led to the carriage corridor To his horror, he could see a lady approaching, pushing a tea trolley. The tea lady's coming. We have to get Gertrude straightened out, now. As Gertrude looked on, confused, the pair set to pulling, work, and straightening the bits of old net curtain that made up the wedding dress. Sorry, said the boy. It's not that you were not beautiful. Gertrude beamed back, puckering up her lips for a kiss. Not now, hissed the boy. He just managed to yank the veil over Gertrude's face. Swish! When the door to the compartment swung open. And that, my friends, will do it for Chapter 40, Stunned Nuns. Now remember, we just talked about how you can answer those questions with complete sentences by copying and pasting the question, changing the words to make it be your answer. Great rest of your day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for Chapter 41.